I See You, I Hear You was a day-long event that centred on early years arts practice. Children aged 8 months to 5 years and their parents arrived through the doors of Access Ballymun early on Saturday the 9th of February to participate in arts workshops specifically designed for them. The day gathered together professionals working across the early years sector to observe firsthand the experience of the children who engaged in music, visual art or drama workshops during the morning. A seminar was held in the afternoon for people to talk, share and learn more about early years arts practice and about ASHTR, the Early Childhood Curriculum Framework, from early years arts practitioners, educationalists, childcare workers, parents and arts organisations from all over Ireland.
I See You, I Hear You is an early years arts event, and the key three aims of the day was about bringing early years practitioners together in one space to actually see early years arts in practice and to talk about how we can move this and develop it further. The second aim would be to focus on the relationship between the child, the artist, and the parent or teacher or the childcare worker. And what is key is that that triangular relationship is crucial to the development of early years arts practice. And finally, the third aim was actually just to highlight the importance of the early years child and how important those few years are in the long-term development for that child, in not just in academic terms, but in the holistic well-being and development of a child.
It's so important because it encourages young children to be themselves. It gives them confidence, allows them to express themselves, to create their own little images probably in a more reality situation. And sure, I mean it seems, allows them to dream and to put it in, to in some way transfer those dreams onto paper or in performance, whether it is music or art or whatever.
Maybe like the little birds. Like the little birdie wings. Listen.
I had never been to a music workshop like that with Kieran, even though I play a little bit of music myself, so the house is full of instruments, but I've never really brought him to something that was focused on that. And I was really amazed at how he introduced narrative and little characters and using trains and gardens and all that kind of environmental stuff to really focus them and to engage them. And it was really brilliantly balanced between the kind of story and the rhythms and using their body and their voices. I just thought it was an amazing introduction.
That relationship between the child, the carer or the parent or the teacher and the artist, it's that relationship. Each one informs the other, because the children are in the environment with the parent or the educator or the childcare professional for most of its time, and an artist needs to be able to understand that environment. And the type, when you're working with the early years children, you have to be very open, you have to be very honest, and the children are very quick to tell you if they like something or they don't like something, and it's built on trust. And they know the teacher, and when the teacher is hugely enthusiastic, or the parent, the children are even more involved with it, and so it becomes a process where everybody is involved, and when everybody is gaining something hugely worthwhile, then that in itself becomes a much more enriching project to be involved in.
Space to talk together from the very beginning, truth and honesty, and a willingness on the part of the teacher and the artist to actually communicate together about what it is they actually do. I think without the teacher having a full understanding of what an artist is and what they do, and the potential for an artist in a setting, an educational setting, I think they're missing an opportunity. It's a holistic kind of situation, really, and it's a very open and exploratory one that we would like to kind of create, so that the child, the artist, and the teacher are all kind of investigating something together, rather than having a predefined outcome.
I think Astra allows us to see the child as a whole. Before, parents and caregivers would have been thinking to children of their 1, 2, 3, their ABC. Now we focus on their identity, their belonging, communication they make, their exploring, their thinking, and their well-being as a whole as well in the child.
We use the Astra framework for testing tiny voices, to test how a musician, when he goes into, or she goes into a childcare setting. And as part of Tiny Voices, we commissioned a research process that tested each of those and identified concrete examples. It was a 16-week program. So that's kind of built for us a tool of looking at how music is a key component of, or can be a potential key component of the Astra curriculum. The child wants to watch, the child wants to listen, the child wants to engage in a quiet way with a beautiful performance. If the performance and the performer are expressing beauty, I think the child engages very, very meaningfully. And I think that it's quite a different encounter from the participative one, but I think it is equally of value to the child in all sorts of ways, in making them happy and making them creative, and also in opening pathways in their brains which encourage their own creativity.
I'm not going to talk for very long, because having revisited that was 2008. Emily spoke earlier.
The number one rule: you have to believe in yourself. You have to be there because you are passionate about being there. You have to know what it is you want the child to engage with in your performance, and sometimes that surprises you.
Does value learning from
We have worked a lot with artists in Ireland, and it's something that we do very quietly. People don't realise that we do that. In a sense, we're a resource centre for that, and a source of just somebody to talk to or to make connection. The connecting element is very strong in our organisation. So we run a festival, we present Irish work, we present international work, but all year long we are talking to people, connecting them with other people, listening to them, listening to ideas, advising. So it's a great place to be, really. It's a wonderful place to be.
An egg? Is the egg asleep?
Our priority for Kids Zone is actually the engagement on the ground between the artist and the child. And in order for that to be the best it can be, there needs to be a certain number of things that have to be in place. And one of those is that the artist coming into that setting is a professional artist, yeah. It's vital that the artist has their own practice, their own line of inquiry, because that's what they're bringing to a situation. That's why they're there. And so that's what they fall back on. That is their responsibility, is to be there as an artist. So it's vital that they have a practice that they are investigating in their own right.
As an artist, my starting point when I'm working with early years children is I use my own artwork, which explores architecture and building and spaces with the children, and we use huge cardboard boxes and 2 meter long insulating piping, and I give them very small visual stimulus, and I show them very quickly how to put something together, and they just run with it. And in turn, when I watch, there's been times where the children are exploring, investigating, and they have found for me the solutions that I then can go, that worked, I will take that back to the studio. And I think in the approach to my work, it's helped I've had to be a lot less precious about it. The children make something, and then it's not that it doesn't work, that doesn't exist in their language, it's I'm going to turn it into something else. which is, I'm like, oh, that's such a refreshing way to look at something. So it's very much I'm doing it with them, and the whole process is very energizing for me and the children.
As a performer, I think if you begin by engaging with groups, by engaging with the children, understanding what it is at that age that makes them tick, then you can fly as an artist with that little seed.
It's really important to, because sitting down, like that's what I do, but I think for parents that can be hugely intimidating for a start. They can feel really, really uncomfortable. They might be completely out of their comfort zones. So it's as important sometimes to get the parents or guardians or whoever it might be warmed up and relaxed, and that can take a little while. And once that happens, that 40 minutes, that 50 minutes it's a special time that they can be together. You know, a lot of the time the weeks might fly by, and I think even though it's just 40 minutes, it's 40 minutes of when they can really sing together, play music together, and have a good time. So I always feel that the parents' engagement is really, really important to the workshop. And if they're sitting back, it's like, please come into the circle.
I would say it was relatively challenging for them, but not with much pressure or anything. I also think that kind of learning, embodied learning, the next time you do it, you know, you're much more able to do it if you sleep on it. They were completely happy, and they were, I mean, usually Kieran, when he's happy, he just bounces, you know, like, and that's exactly what was happening at the end. So, and I think it was the same for all the children. So that was an absolutely embodied expression of just satisfaction. For me to be able to engage that way with my own child, with other parents, it was a very satisfying experience.
I moved between the 3 workshops because I wanted to try and see a bit of each. And I suppose there were things that I thought about. Well, first was the way that the children were engaged, and how well, I suppose, the artists involved in various sessions kind of connected with the children, and how ready the children were to engage with, you know, maybe possibly suggestions of things that they'd never seen or done before, and yet they were totally open and just kind of went with it and made suggestions themselves and all of that sort of stuff. So I suppose that level of engagement was really lovely to see.
Today we've heard about how some childcare practitioners, you know, are hungry to develop more and more arts and cultural activities for children that are child-led, that are child-specific and child-developed, and that's really heartening, because I think we need to keep building evidence that proves that they are a valuable audience, and they have every right to have access to really good quality arts and cultural work as any adult does, or any other child.
The musicians in these sessions. Sometimes it's not just around having the skills, it's around having the confidence to deliver artistic workshops or artistic activities for children. So I'm really feel very strongly about, you know, making sure that the creches, particularly in this area, have the access that they need to people who, like Helen and the other artists that we saw here today, to have those creative experiences from a very young age.
My own role in that, I suppose the biggest value I've seen from it is when people, like, we've kind of brought people together, and also events like this, and the shared learning that's happening in that is hugely valuable. And you can see people, you know, developing kind of different partnerships and different ideas and cross-pollination and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's really, really valuable.
Today, it's just been fantastic, the amount of people who have come from different areas of early years, who've come with the amount of energy and inquiry, and they really want to investigate and explore what is out there, and the amount of people who are able to share their knowledge, and watching the children actually engage with what was actually happening was just fantastic. And for parents to observe their children and engage with them together, and the feedback from the parents was that they were stunned at the level of involvement and focus that their actually children have.
It's no question in my mind, but it has unlimited potential, and it is, for me, a must that young children should be encouraged all the time, to put themselves in touch with their own uniqueness, and that's what it's about. Each and every child is unique, and what we must, as adults, must do is to allow them to express that uniqueness.